So I have a free hour because it just randomly happened. So I'm going to show you guys how to do a disconnected concave layer, like a two-tiered concave, which is something that you can do to remove weight, add a lot of softness, add a lot of movement without having to do too much texturizing. We're going to do all straight lines on this, and you're going to get a really soft result just because of the angles and the elevation that we use in the disconnection that we throw in there. So the end result I'm going to end up putting on my page later, but you can watch the entire cut, at least see the wet results right now. So you can see we have two different sections here. We've got a top panel that's kind of like the low crown area forward, and then we have the crown down. This is going to be where one layer is. Here's another layer. This is really only meant for people who have exceptionally thick hair. Be mindful, if there's not enough hair in this section, you need to drop it down a little bit lower. You need there to be enough weight in that section to eventually like veil over the layers you put here. And if you have questions or want to say any ridiculous nonsense, say it on there and Chloe will repeat it out loud.
Oh, you already had one, but this guy asked if your nipples were pierced.
No! Oh my god. I'm gonna put a jacket on, you creep. It's fine. It's just that maybe this shirt's a little thin so people can see it. Jeez. Now I'm self-conscious for the rest of my life about it. Anyway, we're working concave, which means we're going to be working short to long, right? So I'm going to stand on this side so I can point my fingers down and cut from a shorter length to a longer length. We're going to have vertical sections here. Everything's going to be held square back, so we're not following the shape of the head, we're just pulling everything straight to the wall, just like that. You can tilt down a little bit if you need to, but keep in mind that if you tilt down, you got to make sure your elevation is high enough that you don't get a weight line at the top. First thing we're going to do is take a vertical section right here. Center back, just a very center back of the head right there. Don't take it too thick. You see it's just like a little half an inch or so. In this case, let's say that we already cut our perimeter. You've already established your length. So we're going to lift this up, literally like all the way up like this. So you can see that's the length right there. Like this little piece of hair, that shortest bit. As long as we don't cut that, we know that we still have our perimeter line saved. So as long as you don't break that perimeter, you're not going to get a hole. So again, we're going to come up. I'm going to angle my fingers down. And then we're going to cut short to long like this, using our fingers as a platform. So you can see what will happen when you bring this down again. You get a short length that blends all the way down to this longer length. So you get that perfect cascade and blend of a layer. And it's going to remove a lot of weight from the inside and from the perimeter, so you get that kind of softer feeling. What now?
Oh, nothing. Apparently that was from some guy named Mario.
Oh. What's up, dude? It's like a friend of mine doing it. And that means, yeah, they are. No. Just kidding, they're not. It'd be horrible. The pain associated with that. All right, so again, we're not going to follow the shape of the head. We're just going straight back. Not to the center, just straight back. You're going to use a little bit of your previous section as a guide. I like to put my fingers in like right behind the comb like that so I can follow the comb up. And that way I get a nice, clean guide that I can follow. And again, we're going to cut short to long like that. If you want to, you can, I know that I've already basically cut everything. We can recomb one more time if we need to. You can check to see where those layers are falling. So we got a layer that's about that short that is blending all the way down to these bottom lengths right now. Still vertical sections. Square back, so straight back. Try not to pull too far. It'll start getting too heavy in the corner. And the idea is that we want to really break this weight up a bit. So that's why we're going straight back. To save some weight in the corner, but not too much. Because of the angle that we're using, being so short to long, so dramatic like that, it's going to give us a really sort of soft result. Let's say that you're doing it and all of a sudden this person didn't have a lot of weight in the corner. For some reason, they just had a little gap of weight there on their head. You could disconnect this and just leave it out and just layer through here. So remember, it's not like, don't be too cookie cutter with this. If you have somebody that has density issues in certain areas, you can adjust what you're doing to compensate for that. So vertical sections again. Not to the center, just straight back, just like that. We're going to come straight up I point my fingers down. I'm looking for my guide, which is right there. And then we're going to cut short to long. And we'll have one more section. Think about it like if you put the comb right here and angle it straight back, you're making that flat wall right there. Well, here's Chris. We're working in his room right now, so he's peeking through. You can tell he's a barber because of his mustache.
Learning. Becoming learned.
Ooh, Chris, you should show off these new clippers that we got. You want to show them?
Yeah.
What?
They're not ready yet.
What do you mean they're not ready?
The clippers are fine. They aren't ready.
Oh, they're not ready to see?
Yeah.
We've got a secret custom clipper set that we designed, that Chris designed, that we just came out with. We'll show you guys soon. All right, so there's the layer is in. So we get softness and movement. We have these shorter layers in here, and it takes all that weight out of the perimeter and out of the inside to get a really soft result. Now, on the opposite side here, we're going to do the same thing, but I'm going to stand on the same side because I want to keep pointing my fingers down. If I switch sides, it's going to be too difficult to go short to long, and I want to, make this as easy as possible for myself to do. So we're going to lift this up. Follow this straight up. This hair is very dry, so the comb doesn't want to go through it that well. So it's shorter to longer, and the elevation exaggerates that, so you get that really nice drop in length at the bottom.
Someone asked what toner we used on the mannequin.
This mannequin actually just has, I think it's a 9 silver?
Yeah,
right?
it was 9 silver.
From Colorants. Chloe did it. Gold Glow Colorants 9 silver. Oh, okay. Here's our next one right here. Our last one. So you can see my last panel, I'm going to bring it back so that it's straight back, not to the center, just square back, straight back, just like that. We're coming up. I'm looking for my guides. They're right there with my finger. And I'm going to cut on my fingers. Like place your scissor on your fingers so you can work with just your thumb and cut a nice clean line that way. And that is a great way to take out a lot of weight on the inside of a haircut without doing a lot of texturizing, because now we can drop the top and do a separate layer through the top. But the idea is that you have this piece here and you want this to still fall over it so it kind of intermingles together. So bring that up. We're just thinking about natural fall, like where all of this wants to fall. Vertical section. You can see, look, there's the layer that we cut before, right in there. So we don't want to connect to that. We're going to disconnect. So we're going to come up, come past that layer. So there it is. You can see it in there, that shortness. We're going right past that. And you can see there's already a bit of a layer in here, probably from class or something like that before. And then we're going to drop that out. So it's just a completely separate concave layer. This one we're going to rotate around. We have a traveling guide with this one because we're not so stressed about the corners. I want to get more of a balanced weight in this. So coming up, angling down. Oh, you can see we already have a bit of a concave in here, so this is going to be nice. Not a whole lot to cut. We're just going to connect all that stuff together right there. Each section, I turn the doll a little bit because I have a traveling guide, so I need to travel with the guide as I go. If I don't turn the doll, I'm going to start over-directing too far, and it's going to give me something that is a little bit longer and heavier in areas that I don't want it to be. There's all sorts of different ways that you could use your scissor. That's a pretty fun way to do it. So again, vertical, over directing only to the previous section. So I'm not pushing it all the way back. I'm basically lifting it straight up from where it sits. Angling my fingers down again. And again, we're just going to start working that short to long. Just like that. Here's our last section in the front. Because there's a little less weight in the front of the face, a lot of time I'll over direct this a teeny bit more. Unless you want to have some face framing. You don't have to worry about it, because you can frame it out later. So there's our guide, and we're just going to cut right along that edge. And this is the fancy scissor, the 5.5 inch fancy. It comes out on Sunday. If you want to follow Fancy Scissors on Instagram, you can see when all the new releases of everything come out. But this one will come out on Sunday along with a 7-inch fancy as well. All right, so here is our last panel now. We're combing this out. Vertical section in the back. We're going to use our previous section as a guide. Again, here's Ben now. Hey.
Hello, checking in.
There he is.
You want to join the party?
The man, the myth, the legend. So I'm looking for my guides, and again, we're just going to start knocking that in.
Great, that was so good. Okay. Ooh, this is the new 5.5 fancy.
This is the new Finder. Can you believe that?
Boy.
They're so small.
I have to go to one. Now see ya.
Bye.
Bye.
My next client is here also, so I'm sort of I'm like trying to speed through this layer a little bit. But we're not going to sacrifice the quality of this service. We're coming up. I'm looking for my guides. Like there's my guide right in there. And then I'm just going to knock that length off to match. You see how my wrist is bent like this? Like you don't have to do it that way. You could flatten your wrist out and work this way too. Either way is totally fine. If your wrist is bothering you and you feel like you're going to get some carpal tunnel, it might be a good idea not to bend it. I kind of go back and forth between the two. Because it can be fun to cut that way, but if you do it all the time, it might cause you some wrist issues. So here we are in the back now, or I'm sorry, on the side now. Lifting up, looking for my guides, and then we're just going to come and knock that length right off. Have that level of control, right? So I can place that, and I can just work that line right in. You could even do it with your eyes closed if you have enough control, which I do sometimes on stage and in classes just for fun, just to freak people out. Let's do it right now. Let me place it here. Nice. You did it. You hear that? There's a 5-year-old running around the salon.
There's a wild 5-year-old.
So here's that last section I was talking about. Instead of pulling it right out here, I'm going to over-direct the last section a teeny bit. It's going to give us a teeny bit of face framing, a little bit of a shorter layer there around the face, but that way we don't take out too much weight. So we'll pull this up and back. I'm looking for my guides. I'm just going to cut that right in. You can just hear that little munchkin running. You can see what we get side to side and why we call it a concave layer. Because it's shorter in the center and it gets longer as it go out through the sides. Easy way to check it is to lift up from whatever your part was and see, are you getting that sort of a concave shape like that? And if you are, then you know you've been balanced. So what we'll do now is we'll let this dry, and then I'll come back, I'll get the end result, and I'll put it in my stories and on my page later, I guess. And we're going to save this and put it on my IGTV so you guys can go back and rewatch it. Remember, this is a disconnected concave layer, something that is great when you want to remove a lot of weight, add a lot of movement, but you don't want to do a lot of texturizing. Maybe your client's afraid of texturizing. Maybe you're afraid of texturizing. This can be a great way to get those results without having to